Hello, everyone. I'm with one of the people I love most in the world, my wicked and wonderful co-conspirator, Carolyn Baker. I've written 4 books with her, and she's written 4 books with me, and we've had the most amazing fun, and we're great, great friends. And I've asked her to celebrate the coming out of Engoldenment a Year with Kabir, 366 Timeless Poems, my new book, with me by selecting 4 poems that correspond to her incandescent wild heart and mind. And we're going to plunge into them and have as much fun as we possibly can with this greatest of all mystics. So, Carolyn, thank you for doing this with me.
Well, you're absolutely welcome. It is my pleasure. And I'm just so taken with Kabir. I mean, I have been in the past, but what you've done with him is really, really just astonishing. So I just want to congratulate you on this book, and
Thank you.
it's so colorful. The illustrations are amazing.
You
And
like the 3 guys on the front,
I
don't
love
you?
the three
Oh my
guys on the
God.
front. Yes, yes, yes.
Those
That's a
three
story in
guys.
itself,
Look
I
at these
know.
3 guys, everybody. These wonderful 3 yogis in Benares, Varanasi, where Kabir lived. When we'd finished filming, we came back and we saw them, and I don't know how they got it, but they got that we loved them, and they started blessing us and dancing, and we put them on the cover because we wanted you to be welcomed into Kabir field.
Yes, yes. Well, it certainly conveys the feeling of Kabir. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
congratulations on just
Freedom.
selecting that image. Yes, yes, yeah. Well, yeah, okay. So I'd like to begin with the
Sweetheart,
very,
you're very, very white. Do you know how white you are on the light is very white. Ah, that's much less white.
I moved.
You did. It was wonderful. Now
Okay,
we can see your
okay,
face.
okay. So perhaps I was too close to the camera. I
Mm.
thought I would just begin with the January 6th poem, which January 6th is kind of important in American history right now. But it just happens to be that this is what he wrote in that particular poem. He says, only do that will end your pain.
Mm.
What will you gain plunging again and again into the flames of craving to be devoured like the rest? Protect yourself from that blaze. Let your soul cry in agony for his mercy. Go to the saints' company and contemplate and brave the one true death that leads to life. Kabir says, learn a new way of losing. You've already lost everything.
Oh,
And to that, I wanted to bring in a quote from the Buddhist teacher Adyashanti, who famously says, make no mistake about it. Enlightenment is a destructive process.
yes.
It has nothing to do with becoming better or being happier. Enlightenment is the crumbling away of untruth.
That couldn't be more appropriate for Kabir, could it? Because Kabir is really like the living sword of truth.
Absolutely.
And one part of him is just hacking away constantly
Yeah,
at all our fantasies and illusions.
absolutely. Yeah.
What does that poem mean for you in the context of what we are living through right now? You've been one of the pioneers. That's one of many reasons I love you. The pioneers of a demand to all of us to look unflinchingly at the great death that we're living through.
Well,
How does that poem to speak to that?
that's exactly it. I mean, we're in a time of incredible death and rebirth. And, we can see some shimmers maybe of possibility and rebirth. But right now we are in a global dark night, as you are so fond of repeating over and over again, because it's
Yes.
true. It's true. And I repeat it in my work constantly. We're in this global dark night. We call it a planetary predicament, because it's not a problem that can be solved. It's a predicament that we can only respond to
And learn from.
and learn from. And the sacred is asking us to respond by this total surrender, this total death to the false self, and allowing this destruction that that Kabir is talking about and that Adyashanti articulates as well.
And also, he's giving you the key too. That's what's so wonderful
Yes,
about Kabir. He doesn't kill without helping you to get reborn. He says,
absolutely.
look, stop doing the stuff that causes you pain. And
Right.
stop causing pain.
Yeah,
Stop killing the environment. Stop massacring the animals. Stop the whole crazy orgy of darkness that your pride and your hubris and your madness and your dissociation, your separation keep going. And get with the truth and keep the company of saints like Kabir. Keep
yes,
the company of the great ones, Rumi, Kabir, Jesus, the Prophet, peace be upon him, the ones who know, who have gone through all of this and who have been reborn on the other side. They're the ones who you need to hang on to in a terrible time, because they know that if you let the pain of what's happening kill you and rebirth you, you'll end your pain and become a bringer of peace and justice and love to the world.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Can you
Shall
read it
I?
again? Can you just read it again? You read it so
Sure.
well.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
hear it in the context of now.
Yes.
Because that's why I got it out. Let's face it. I mean, these poems are totally timeless, aren't they? They
Oh,
just,
oh,
he
oh.
speaks so directly. There's no fla here.
No, and it doesn't matter what's going on at the time that you're reading it. It's applicable, absolutely. So he says, only do that that will end your pain. What will you gain plunging again and again into the flames of craving to be devoured like the rest? Protect yourself from that blaze. Let your soul cry in agony for his mercy. Go to the saints' company and contemplate and brave the one true death that leads to life. Kabir says, learn a new way of losing. You've already lost everything.
That's so true of our time.
So true of our time.
Because
Yes.
we've already lost everything. This enterprise of hubris has failed totally, and now we see, because we're staring at the ruins of that mad dream.
Yes.
So let's get with the real divine program of
Absolutely.
allowing these illusions to die so that something amazing can be born in us and through us.
So shall I move on to the next
Oh,
one?
yes.
Okay. Well,
Oh, yes.
this one is May 28th,
Mhm.
and it's even more, it speaks more directly, I think, to our time. He says, look around, you'll see in this Kali Yuga,
Mhm.
people give up honey for cyanide, set thieves on thrones, turn away from the noble. Liars hang out with liars, charlatans with charlatans. All three worlds are stinking with this garbage, and you can't trust anyone. Kabir says, don't tell me I'm dark and bitter. Just keep your eyes open. Next time you walk down any street and listen carefully. And what that says to me is be alert and awake, and remember that you have a duty as a sacred activist to be aware of what's happening around you. And you also have a duty to warn about the evil that is coming, that is already present. And the sacred in sacred activism, I believe, includes speaking the truth, especially when your culture is immersed in lies.
And there are three big lies that are raging now.
Yes.
First, there's the lie that the election was stolen and that the insurrection was a kind of garden party that went a little bit wrong, but nothing too much to worry about, which is causing terrible havoc and which could very well be the seedbed of an appalling fascism, which could, if it's installed, signal the potential end of the world. Lie number one. Lie number two, that climate change is a hoax and it's being exaggerated for political reasons when 98% of the scientists of the world are telling us that we have at most 10 years to make unspeakably radical changes if we're going to have a ghost of a chance to survive. And the third big lie is this mad anti-vaccination lie that is spreading like wildfire at the very moment when a new variant, Omicron, is taking over the world and could very well be just the first among new variants, some of which could be even more dangerous than Omicron, and some of this which could very well resist all vaccines.
Yes.
So the combination of all of those lies is plunging the world into absolute nightmare. It's here. And one of the things that Kabir makes clear, as all mystics know, that the key sign of the dark is the lie.
Yes.
Liars throng to liars, charlatans to charlatans. This describes perfectly the current state of the Republican Party.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the
Yeah.
whole three worlds are stinking with this garbage. The corporations are lying, a great swathe of the media is lying, the politicians are lying. All sorts of perfectly decent people have been hoodwinked and corrupted and polluted by these lies. And they're very difficult to fight because God knows, how do you fight lies when people believe them?
That's absolutely right. And I love when he says, "Don't tell me I'm dark and bitter."
Right.
Yeah. And he doesn't argue about that. He says, just keep your eyes open next time you walk down any street and listen carefully.
Just listen to what, just stop fighting the reality with magical thinking.
Yes.
Don't denounce the people who are telling you. How many times have you been told that you're dark and bitter? How
Oh,
many times I've been told? It's all such you're one of the happiest people I know. We laugh like wild people. We talk to each other once every 2 days. We know what's going on, but we are not dark and we are not bitter. We are soldiering on and
exactly.
offering everything we can, including this book and your amazing new book, Crest of Fascism, which, if you haven't read, everybody, just get, because it is the most astounding analysis of how a fake Christianity goes hand in hand with this dangerous fascist upsurge. Please raise it aloft.
I shall do that. Confronting Christofascism, healing the evangelical wound.
Carolyn always writes these extremely light books. Tell them the title of your new book that you're working on, which is my favorite so far.
Okay. My new book will be entitled Undaunted, Living Fiercely into Climate Meltdown in an Authoritarian World.
Now that's a cuddly title.
Oh, that's so
But
fluffy.
Kabir would be so proud of you. Don't tell us that we're dark and bitter. We're simply reporting, long before most people dared to report, what's actually happening. Not to crush people, but to alert people and to warn people that they have to go on a journey to become strong enough to rise to this challenge.
And one of the chapters in my new book is going to be the audacity of joy.
Well, that's Kabir too, isn't
Yes,
it?
it absolutely is.
What
Yeah.
about poem 3, baby?
Poem 3 is July 21st, and he writes, "Your dreadful problem," says Kabir, "is that you think you exist. You do and you don't. And when you do eternally, it's not as your me in quotes. What a wild game, Hari, but some of us whom you've driven sane, crazy love playing it." Kabir says, "Listen, friends, nothing makes sense until you give up every sense you make. Then, oh, then something arrives, or nothing, or both. No more words." I'd like to read it again.
It's a great poem, yeah.
Your dreadful problem, says Kabir, is that you think you exist. You do and you don't. And when you do eternally, it's not as your quote unquote me. What a wild game, Hari, but some of us whom you've driven sane crazy love playing it. Kabir says, Listen, friends, nothing makes sense until you give up every sense you make. And then, oh, then something arrives, or nothing, or both. No more words.
What
And
does it mean to you? It's one of my favorite.
well, I would love to have you, I'll say more about that, but if you could explain a bit, what a
Oh,
wild game,
yeah.
Hari. Who's Hari?
Hari is one of his names for God.
Okay,
What date is it, Danny?
it's July 21st.
I should know this book by heart. My God, I worked hard enough on it.
Oh, I know how that
Ju-
goes.
July 21st.
Yeah,
He's saying, look, the whole problem of the human race is that you believe you are this discrete, separate person.
right,
That's the first verse.
right.
You do exist, but you also don't exist because the
Yes,
person that you are is a crystallization of the massive light energy consciousness that is actually manifesting the whole universe. You're a hologram of the whole universe. You're
right.
a light drop of an ocean of light. That's what you wake up to when you're graced by mystical experience. And when you come through the stages of the path to realize that you are one with the eternal self, you don't go on existing as your old you. You're you and not you, but the you that's living your life is the self. And the you that is appearing is like the mask that you wear to a ball that the self puts on to express itself in your particular incarnation. And then he says, what a wild game. Well, it is a wild game. But some of us, whom you've driven sane crazy, and I love sane crazy,
Yes, yes,
because it is totally sane, because you're totally realistic, you're in connection with the real. But it looks crazy to other people because they're still stuck in this dreary idea that they're just themselves.
yeah, right.
And then love playing it, because once you're initiated into that amazing truth by grace, you become a dancer. You play your life, you play it seriously, but there is a real sense of mischief and joy behind even your most serious games.
Yes,
And then he says this incredible thing, and I know you loved this because your voice lifted with joy when you read it. Nothing makes sense until you give up every sense you make.
yes,
Because everything you think with an unillumined consciousness, however intelligent, is going to trap you in illusion, even at the highest levels. Because once you die into life and are given a sense of the mysterious unity of everything and the true glory of the real, then, oh my God, then you're begin to know something. And you realize that you've never really known anything because everything you've known before then, even if it included Sanskrit, Kierkegaard, political theory, etc., is just a formulation, a concept which dissolves like salt in the water of the one. And then he says, and these last lines are about as brilliant as you can get. He
oh,
says,
yes,
then, oh, then something arrives. He can't explain it. Nobody could put it into words. It's the mystery arrives, or nothing, because that something is nothing. It's an emptiness vaster than anything that you can.
yes.
The self is both transcendent and immanent. So it's empty, or both. Why not both? It's
Why
something,
not both? Right,
a something that is a nothing and a nothing that is a something. You
right.
know, the Chinese have the sense that the enlightened person is Wu Wei, they say, and that translation is the enlightened person is nothing doing, a nothing that is doing, just as the universe is emptiness doing, the void doing. And then he says, okay, that's it. I can't go any further. No more words. Let's have no more words. Let's experience this and
Yes.
be liberated by this and start turning up in this dreadful, chaotic world with joy and a passion to serve and liberate all beings.
So I have to tell you that when I finished reading this the first time, what flashed in my mind immediately was the poem by the Spanish poet Juan Ramon Jimenez,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
one of my favorite in
Oh, read
the
it. Is it
universe.
the I Am poem, the walking?
It
Oh my God, that's
absolutely is.
perfect for
Yes.
Kabir.
Jimenez says, I am not I. I am this one walking beside me whom I do not see, whom at times I manage to visit, and whom at other times I forget. The one who remains silent while I talk, the one who forgives sweet when I hate, the one who takes a walk when I am indoors, the one who will remain standing when I die. And I have to tell you that I just keep coming back to this poem, and now to Kabir's really version of what Jimenez is saying, is that this is our spiritual journey. You know, this coming to terms with the ego, the false self, and realizing that that has to diminish so that we can allow the divine self to expand. And so it really is from day to day. It's, I'm not I, I'm this one.
Right.
Sometimes I'm the ego, yeah, and I have to be, I need to be.
You
But
need
at
to talk
other
to
times,
publishers and stuff. Yes.
yeah, right. When you know, as Michael Mead says, when people tell me that they've lost their ego, I say, well, who's got the car keys and how did you get to the bathroom the last time?
But the ego becomes the servant of the self and
Yes,
not the other way around,
exactly,
isn't it?
exactly. Yes, yes.
And why do you think that's so important now? You're about to write this book, which is really about how do we live at the potential end of everything. We all are going to try for the birth,
Right.
but we all know perfectly well that the human race is so crazy that it could possibly kill. Well, it might very well commit suicide and matricide. So, why is this form of knowledge so important?
This form of knowledge, this reality, this truth, this universal truth throughout
Right.
the ages, taught in every
Every tradition.
on earth, that I'm not my ego. That
Right. What a relief.
I didn't come here to be my ego. That's
No.
not who I am or ever will be in my truest essence. I am the sacred, I am the divine, and I need this ego to get me through the world and do the day to day. But if that's all I have, then I'm lost and I'm really nobody.
Well,
So,
and more than that, you're actually the puppet of all the forces that the ego has created, which
absolutely,
then manipulate it. So you're the puppet of
absolutely.
society or politics or whatever.
So I need to know who I am. And
Hmm.
who I am is not my ego. Who I am is my deepest humanity, my sacred self. And so my spiritual journey is all about remembering that, contemplating that, and living that out, living from this sacred self instead of my ego, and asking my ego to come along and help me as I live out my sacred self.
I had this wonderful talk with my analyst. It's actually in our first session many years ago when I went to Nathan Schwartz-Salant, and he said, you need your ego. And I said, well, I'm trying to get rid of my ego. He said, don't get rid of your ego. Think of your ego as your mafia brother who can arrange stuff for you. I mean, it's such a wonderful image.
Yeah.
But you need your ego to sometimes create boundaries, all the stuff that you need to function in the world. But you need also to experience it at ever deeper levels, this true self
Yeah.
that you are, because that self has never been born, will never die, is one with the one with all beings, and that self is naturally altruistic and loving and passionately committed to serving all people humbly and all things humbly, isn't it?
Well, yes, absolutely. And the image that I come back to, and so many people use this image, is the ego is like the symphony conductor. And I think of our time for the was it the 225th anniversary of Beethoven?
Yes,
When we went to Chicago Symphony Hall for that wonderful concert, I think it was the violin concerto,
yes, I ordered
and
it specially for you.
you ordered it especially for me. And, you know, the conductor is the one who says, more strings, a little less brass, please, more percussion, a little less wind instrument, you know, and so on. But the conductor must listen with his heart or her heart to the composer.
Right.
Listen to
You
Beethoven.
must obey the composer because you don't
Obey,
waver from the score. Every note is there. Right.
obey Mozart, you
Right.
know, and there and in that way conduct.
What a fabulous image. I love that. What's your last poem, darling?
The last poem is written in August 9th entry, and
August
this is
9th.
probably my favorite. He's my beloved, deathless, formless, who has no place, no end, no birthmarks. I am his woman and live to give him more and more of my soul and heart and body. The more I dare to give ecstatically, freely, the more he lives in me as me. None can explain this mystery. True lovers are happy just to let it unfold. All other lovers, Kabir says, die and rot. I've fed them to the furnace of truth. If you want this love, friends, cry and pray incessantly to be worthy to pay its price.
That's everything.
For me, this speaks to the utter surrender to the sacred that we're being asked to consent to in this time of planetary madness. Lovers surrender to each other totally and completely without reservation, holding nothing back. And the Quran says, I found this quote from the Quran that says, the only true religion in the sight of God is self-surrender to God.
Yes.
And
Islam means surrender.
say that again, please.
Islam means surrender.
Yeah, okay, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's the key to the
That's
whole
it.
tradition. Yes.
And Kabir makes clear in this last poem that I read from July 21st that what we're being asked to surrender is the false self or the ego, so that the true, authentic, divine self can radiate through us. And that is the sacred in sacred activism.
Danny, thank you so much. So
Mhm.
everybody, there you have it from one of the really great sacred activists on the planet
And
who resonates with Kabir. So please, I worked so hard to get this book into the shape that it is. It's coming out for the price of a mediocre breakfast.
yeah,
$14.99 on Amazon. You could have Kabir walking with you through this dark night, holding your hand and hitting you over the head and kissing you and giving you messages of unspeakable clarity and unspeakable inspiration. Please go for it.
yes, please buy this book and let it just transform you down to your
Kabirize you.
toes, Kabirize you.
When
Yes.
you talk about your title, you see, fierce, is it fierce love?
No, it's
Living fiercely.
undaunted, living fiercely into climate meltdown in an authoritarian world. Yes.
And don't you think of all the great mystical poets, living fiercely would be the ideal way of describing Kabir?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Living fiercely is what he's all about. He's, as you and I were speaking earlier today, he's the badass of the mystics.
He sure is, yes. He's the big kahuna badass. He's
Yes,
the Everest badass of mystics. Get
absolutely.
with Kabir and let him into your hearts, my friends.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Carolyn.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Miles might think that we are going on for an hour, but I think that's perfect, don't
I do
you?
too. Oh yeah,
You
it's about
you
a
did
half hour.
great.
Just about
Thank you
right.
so much,
You're
darling.
very welcome. My
Bless
pleasure.
you. I
Totally my
love
pleasure.
you. Thank you. It was fabulous. You were great. You chose such great poems. Thank you.
I want to make sure he's got this recording. Can
I
you
have to
check?
go and ring him.
Yeah.
Yes, we just did half an hour. Very good, very strong. So can you just sign off with Carolyn because she's anxious?